All right, man. I think I got this motherfucker set up properly this time. It's about the fourth time I've tried to do this. But like it is what it is. But yo, what up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Pnoid News. Man, listen, so I was sitting here and I noticed in my Streamlabs after I checked because DK Mal said he sent me some shit that Cappy done donated motherfucking $20 and told me to watch this. And by the way, any of y'all that want me to watch a video for y'all, I'll watch it and talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like hit that Streamlabs in the description, leave me a message, you know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying, we'll get down to business. It is what it is. So in the meantime, let's check out this video that Cappy sent me. I feel like it's probably kind of retarded, some Zoomer content, but you know, is what it is. It's worth listening to. You know what I mean? Like when motherfuckers feel away, you should probably hear what they say. Let's get to it, man. You know what I mean?
Gerber.
So I just turned 20. Technically, I was born in 2003 or whatever, but I don't really feel like it. I feel more like I'm 16. I also look more like I'm 16, but that's probably just genetic. The point is, mentally, I'm like a 16-year-old. And that's what I said in court, but the jury really wasn't having it. And I got charged with something about statutory. So I had to flee the scene. I drove deep into the mountains because I really don't want to go to jail.
Yo, man, I love the Zoomer thing, man. Like, yo, your fucking humor is fucking on point. I'll be real, you're fucking hilarious and shit. You know what I mean? And because like you have to understand all this is nonsense and like it's just some bullshit he's joking about. But you know what I mean? Like it's funny as fuck. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, right? It's like, listen, they try to charge him with this thing statutory. I don't know. Yo, man, listen, hilarious. Let's keep rocking though.
Jail on account of the fact, you know, the fellas in there might try to get my ass. On my journey, I spotted a large tree. A tall tree I decided to climb so I could scout my surroundings and make sure none of the authorities were after me. It was the first time I climbed a tree in a while. I
have a question for y'all, right? Let's keep this all the way 100. So, if when you went to jail, it was no violence or rape waiting for you, would y'all mind going to jail? I mean, like, it's basically a life reset where you get to go sit and read and work out and eat for free and have your laundry done for free and they provide housing. This kind of sounds like the pod. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, how many of y'all would, like, not be as scared of jail if it wasn't for the anal rape thing? Given this, I'm just asking a question. You know what I mean? Let's keep rocking though.
To really love climbing trees. When I finally reached the top, I looked around and I didn't see anybody, only the landscape. I reached for my phone in my pocket, but I realized I didn't have it. It was down there recording me climbing the tree. So now I'm on top of this tree and I don't have any constant simulation to silence my Zoomer brain from thinking thoughts. So now they're right in front of me.
That's dangerous for Zoomers, man. I don't. Sure, you want to go that route, man? I don't know if you want to go that way. I mean, like, I feel like you go that way, you're going to have a bad time because y'all been stimulated your entire life electronically. It's just been all day just like this, bro. I know, like, bro, listen, I'm 40. You know what I mean? Like, and I've reached my phone way, way, way too hard. Like, I literally looked at it, like, where's my phone at? Like, I'm checking, man. This is fucking. Whew, that shit's addictive. Like, yo, no, I don't know how y'all handle life, bro. Like, y'all have had it forever. Like, I didn't have that shit up until, like, I was, like, 25, 26 years old. Like, man, listen, part of it was my own making, but, like, part of it was the fact I didn't grow up with it. So it wasn't something I was like, I see all these people wandering around staring at their phones. It seemed like a bad thing. You know what I mean? That's why I didn't do it. You know what I mean? And on top of that, I was married and I was trying to stay married. And I know that if I hop on Facebook, like, the females on Facebook, you know what I'm saying? Like they're females on their Facebook, man. You know what I mean? Let's keep rocking.
And I start to break down. Not like I'm crying or anything gay like that. Just, you know, it's all inside. I realized that I should have climbed more trees. I know I'm still young. I still have a lot of time, but in many ways, it's too late. Not just too late to climb trees, but too late to go sleep over with my friends, have conversations into the night, laughing, waking up their parents and pretending like we're asleep when they walk in the room. Too late to come home from school and hop on Xbox Live with all the homies. Too late to go back to school, because as much as it sucked,
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like I go on Discord and it's full of people who do nothing but sit on Xbox with their fucking homies and shit. Right? Keeping that 100, right? And like, as far as like sleeping over at your friends and stuff's concerned, like, y'all could always be roommates and chill and do that every day. You know what I mean? But like, the whole like stuck with your parents thing. I mean, waking up their parents and stuff. I mean, this is kind of disrespectful as you get older. And once you become a parent, like, I'll be honest with you, like, I don't like my kids' friends coming to the crib, bro. Like, because fucking people are dangerous today. Motherfuckers say any goddamn thing. Like, yo, I'm cool. Like, I'm fucking cool, bro. Like, I'm straight. That's the last thing you want is motherfucking your neighbors and your business in any way, bro. Like, y'all keep that bullshit over there, bro, because I'm good. I'm fucking good. You know what I mean? On that one. Just keeping it a buck.
that's where all the boys were. And now they're kind of all gone. Too late to feel innocent high school love. Too late to be a kid. Because I guess I
mean, I don't know about all that, man. Like, you don't have to look at relationships as like long-term ephemeral things, right? You can look at it as like some shit that's fleeting. You know what I mean? Just be in that moment and be present. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be where like you're, how do I put this? Like, it doesn't have to be on that level where, you know what I mean? Like, oh man, we planning a life, we get married, da 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 da. You know what I mean? Like, yo, you can still do all that same shit. You know what I mean? Like, you still like walk around and, you know what I mean, hang out and chill and get high and drink and do all types of ill shit with your female. You know what I mean? You don't have to continue to, you know what I mean, sit here and try to like, be fucking totally committed and serious in a relationship in your fuck 20s. That's just dumb. I know like females is like expecting relationships, but like, I'll tell you something, here's a secret, like real shit. I feel like my shit's shiny right now. Right, but let me tell you a secret about females and males. Females hold the key to sex. Men hold the key to relationships. And they have a number of ways of like trying to force you into a relationship. But the moment you see them doing that, you be like, bro, listen, like that's kind of, I don't feel good about that. Let's keep rocking though.
could still climb trees, but it wouldn't be the same anymore. I used to do it just because I liked doing it, and now I do it to avoid being convicted as a sex criminal. But hey, I guess that's just growing up. I don't feel ready. I want to go back, but time keeps moving. In fact, that shit continually moves faster as you get older, which is a real dick move by, the Lord. It's a well-known psychological phenomenon that time seems to move faster as you get older, but once I realized why this happens, it kind of freaked me out a little bit. It's because the passage of time is proportionate to your memory. When you're younger, time seems more dense because the things you experience are new and your brain memorizes them as such. And when you're older, going on your daily life, you have less and less new experiences. So during the day, it might not seem fast, but that's why you can blink and look back at the last 5 or 10 years and feel like it's been no time at all, like nothing's really happened. That's just the general concept, but it can get scary when you extrapolate it to other things. Because unique and memorable events slow down time, getting into a routine makes time go faster because your days are all the same. And that's kind of what adulthood is. For me,
I've been thinking about this, right? So like, anybody, and listen, there was a movie Will Smith made called Hancock, right? Hancock, right? But like, he made this movie called Hancock, and it was a movie about him being like a superhero, right? And he ended up losing his powers when he got with like his wife or love or whatever was his partner, right? And that's kind of like an allegory for like actual real life. You know what I'm saying? Because like when you end up in like a long-term committed fucking relationship, you end up standing here, like being on that level where, you kind of start dying. Like there's an old like adage that basically the premise is like a family is what keeps a man from becoming a hero. Like that's some real ass shit, man. You know what I mean? Like once you get in a relationship, in a long term committed relationship, you kind of die a little bit, and just like you're like, listen, until death do us, we together. And that's like that puts that timeline in there where it's like, now the next step is death. Look, that's tough, right? Now that's worth a trade off, right? You know what I'm saying? If like there's things that come with that are positive, but there's just not a lot in the modern day thing, right? Because you're going to dedicate yourself to building something that's probably going to end up falling down through no fault of your own. Keeping that all the way 100. It's fucking crazy, right? Let's keep rocking though, man.
Me, time was moving very steady until I was 16, 17. And by this time, the lockdowns hit. I didn't have a graduation. I just started taking online classes at a community college, and my days started bleeding together. These last few years, I feel, were robbed from me. I was a late bloomer, so I was pretty unfuckable most of my life, never dated in high school, and after this, my friend groups broke apart, scattered to different universities, states, and programs. I see them every once in a while, but there's no group anymore, no shared community. It's not the same. Through doing the research I've done on this channel and really looking at other people around my age, I've noticed stunted growth of this generation, specifically men, on a wide scale. You could point to many things that demonstrate the arrested development of this generation. Men dropping out of the labor force, the college entrance rates being 60%.
Yo, look, man. This is something else I've been thinking about recently, right? Somebody I was talking to, I forget his name at the moment, right, on Discord, and he said circumcision is child abuse. I said, what is like sending your child to an institution 7 hours a day for 13 years? What would you consider that? I feel like that's child abuse. I feel like college forcing them to pay for the privilege of training themselves for a job that they don't want, also to be child abuse. Like you just feel like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe a lot of this society needs rethought. I'm just putting this out here, like we existed for 10,000 years without like schools. We've had them for like 200. And now people are cutting their dicks off. I feel like we're kind of not in a good position. Right? Like, I feel like this is not a good thing. Keeping this all the way funky. But let's keep going though.
Women, 40% men, and the graduation rates being even more skewed at 70-30. Some people say these men are avoiding college or dropping out to pursue some greater ambition, like starting a business. And while that may be the case for some, it was probably the idea for most of them. Let's just be honest, a lot of these guys are just fucking off. Less people are getting driver's licenses. You could point to the rate of single men and lonely men with no brotherhood. This is something I talk about a lot in other videos, so I'm not going to go into.
The driver's license one, though, was kind of weird, right? The fact that, like, and a lot of this has to do with video games, right? And Uber Eats and DoorDash and all that type of shit. Like, why would you get a driver's license if you never need to go no fucking where? And not only that, with the price of cars being what they are, and which that's the next video I have to fucking make because DK Mao sent me $14.88. The 14 words. Right? You know what I mean? Like, oh, but yeah, like, that's one of those, it's weird, bro, right? You know what I mean? Like, that is a strange one, man. Listen, motherfuckers, like, went from a society of, like, people who rode horses and camels and elephants to people who had, you know what I mean, like automobiles, to now people who want other individuals to drive them around, or in general just not go nowhere. I feel like, I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of this is DUIs. A lot of this is the criminality aspect of it and the risk. It's kind of the same thing as like, why don't you see people outside, like grown men in the 60s, 70s, 80s, like they'd be outside playing basketball or baseball or softball or bowling or doing some shit together, right? And then the risk of injury was so high, you know what I mean? And the fact that if you got injured, you know, you fuck around and like you lose your income and fuck up your whole family because like there was no like, you know, security system behind you, you know, and people just stopped doing these things, right? And I mean, like they stressed us out to the point where like everybody risked everything to be able to just have, you know, a basic living, and they just stayed in perpetual debt up to their fucking eyeballs, you know. Like, I pointed this out in my last video, right? So, I mean, I think that's kind of like where all that shit comes from. You know, I mean, it's fucking goddamn crazy.
The depth and the statistics, but having human relationships is a big part of growing up. Learning how to grow and maintain connections and provide value. This is true for platonic relationships, but it's also true for romantic as well. It's a part of maturing, but a lot of men don't even get their foot in the door now. This arrested development is also demonstrated by Gen Z's obsession with escapism and fantasy. And it's cool if you like these sort of things, but the amount of people I see make it damn near their whole personality is crazy. And this is because community is dying and culture alongside it. Nobody has a real sense of self.
Culture died a long time ago, my friend. Like, long ago. Right? Like, yo, before I was born, it died. Right? I mean, like, there was pockets of, like, people who had actual culture, but, like, the culture's dead. I mean, it's been dead. Like, they're at this point, they're, you know what I mean, like, running around, like, stamping out fucking culture anywhere they find it. You know, I mean, in the same way that, you know, they stand here and they fucking, you know, they put out fires, right? And in like a fucking metal shop, you know what I mean? Just every time they find any piece of culture because it fucks up their corporate shit. This all comes back to economics. You know what I mean? This is what it is. We're trying to keep going though.
Anymore. When I look around at young people my age, a lot of them are submerged in this escapism, whether it be anime, video games, the hub, weed, and other drugs, usually a combination of most of these things. It's what they spend most of their time doing, and in a way, it's kind of what they live for. This is also sort of connected to rampant consumerism, which is childish. Being obsessed with fantasy is a childish trait. This isn't to say that all Zoomers are like grown-up children.
Well, I mean, like, it's the problem of like real life doesn't really offer you much chance for anything, right? Other than like a cookie cutter thing, right? You know, like I don't have much need for like the fantasy, right? I mean, like I don't read Harry Potter, right? I don't fucking get into anime, right? Only thing I watch sometimes is like football, right? But that's, you know, more because like I used to play football, right? And you know, I enjoy watching, you know what I mean, like the game just as an in general thing because I'd be fucking bored and there's nothing else to fucking do sometimes. But like the escapism thing into like, you know, the video games, the weed, the motherfucking anime, the Pornhub, all that shit. What that is a lack thereof of options of just living any other type of life, right? Like, you know, when you're standing here and you're living your life as a person and you're out doing shit, you know, you're going fishing, you're drinking, you're hiking, you're doing something else, you know what I mean? Like, and you have other people to share that with. you're able to, like not have to worry about having fantasy. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to have like, some crazy ass, like fantasy things, that you want to get into because you have a life. You have things that you're doing. You have shit that like are experiencing all the time. That's a real thing. Let's keep rocking.
Children. I know a lot of people that are making good progress. They're growing up. They're doing good, but it's a scary amount. And a lot of these guys who live this sort of lifestyle, they're really smart too. Like they had a lot of potential, but it's just, it's over now.
Well, let me say this too, right? So like there was this dude who was like super brilliant, like it's really smart guy. I don't know who the fuck he was, but like there's a story about him. And this guy, like he was at MIT, graduated at like 14 and did all this shit, and he's disappeared one day. They found him like 10 years later, working at a Home Depot. Because he didn't want that. Right? Like nobody wants that. Like, once you realize what the system is, you want to find a way to escape it. Like the moment you see, like if you don't know that you're in a box and then you figure out that you are, you want to run as quick as possible. You know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things. Let's keep rocking though.
I'm 20, but I haven't really lived that much for my age in terms of experience, which, as I talked about earlier, slows down time, especially when compared to someone like my great-grandfather when he was 20 years old, who, while being technically the same age as me, would have already lived way more and kind of longer. He experienced more growth, more character development. There are even arguments rooted in physiognomy that claim men today look younger and more childlike than men of previous generations, because this lack of experience and responsibility can manifest itself in your physical appearance, which is debatable, but it's an interesting concept. You could also point to the home ownership rates and the amount of people still living with their parents, which is mainly an economic issue. I'm not going to blame that on video games or whatever, and in other cultures they do that anyway. I moved out and I kind of regret it. But the truth is, a lot of these people who are living with their parents also just happen to be not doing shit. After graduating from high school and not going to university, I didn't really consider how much it would isolate me. The truth is, college has sort of monopolized socialization for young people. And I talked about this a little bit on my second channel. That video didn't even get a whole lot of views compared to my other ones, but the amount of people who sent me emails that were resounding with it showed me how true it is. It sucks because college now for many people isn't a smart financial decision unless you have some sort of scholarship or financial aid, or you're really hell-bent on becoming an accountant. If you graduate high...
Look, there are towns out here, right, where like people just in general, like they stay in that town their whole fucking life. Is what they do, right? And these people, they're tied to families and communities and clans and shit, in America, right? The problem comes down to is that they have to live under the same laws and rules of people who live in the suburbs or in, like cities, right? Like in PA here, like, if you live up in the mountains, you have the same laws as they have in Philadelphia or like whatever. And the truth is that in like some of these mountain towns, like what you need is a savage to just go through and just crack a couple motherfuckers. Like I was dealing with this female, and somebody like tried to run her down with their car, and I'm like, where I come from, if something like that happens, you go and you kick in a door and you drag somebody outside and you beat him in the street and you let them know, like, you make an example out of them. Like, this is not acceptable fucking behavior, my friend. Like, you do it again, you will fucking find out that I will end your life. And then not only does that person never do that dumb shit again, everybody else in the neighborhood all of a sudden calms down because now there's consequences for their fucking actions, right? And like, there's people who are able to like deal with these type of problems, right? And it's not like the police are not going to help you with this, because the police are just going to arrest you, go through court cases, and they're back on the street, they may bail, and like just everybody ends up on drugs because everybody ends up fined. And that's not what you need. You don't need police. What you need is a savage, just to, like clean the fucking neighborhood the fuck up. Just keeping that all the way funky.
High school, you start going straight to a trade, straight to the professional world. You're going out doing all these things by yourself. You look around and everyone's older than you. And you find out quickly how atomized, how individualized people are, how hard it is to find a community. I just thought that's something I'd mention for anybody graduating high school or about to graduate high school. If you're not going to go to college, you gotta weigh that in. You got to understand that you'll probably isolate yourself, because a lot of your friends are probably going. Your social circle is going to split apart, and there's not going to be a group of young people around you anymore. You'll go outside, and everybody's 40. I was talking to my parents the other day at lunch.
You're not wrong, right? And this is, like, I'll be honest with you. When I grew up, nobody went to college. I don't know anybody who went to fucking college from my town when I came up, right? No one. Like, just no one went to college, right? Like, everybody after, like, to be honest with you, most of us didn't even graduate fucking high school. Like, the place you went was jail, right? But, like, you stuck around for a while, and, like, everybody remained tight until, like, you're in the mid-20s minimum. Then, like, everybody started kind of going, right? I split off early because I had, like, kids, and I had things to handle, and I was, like, branching out and going other places and shit. And, I was living my own life. But, like, again, I was out having experiences and forming new bonds with new people and meeting new people and new friends and new social circles. And, like, it was a whole different animal. And, like, I was living in new places that I had never been before. And it was cool, But, like, that kind of shit is not, available to everybody, because, like, I did all that just off the strength of just being me. Like, broads were like, man, listen, Tom Pease, I want you to come be with me and never leave me, right? That type of shit. You know what I mean? That's what that was. So, like, and some motherfuckers can't do that shit. Let's keep going.
Asking them about when they were my age. They're in their 60s now. My parents were dating when they were 19. I've never been in a relationship. I've only fooled around with girls I couldn't care less about. They talked about all these people they met when they were my age that I now know today. They were telling me these stories, and it all just seems so natural. Like they didn't have to think twice about it. And I felt uncomfortable in comparison because none of these things happened to me. And I'm similar to my parents. I'm genetically them. What sucks is that I'm overthinking about all this shit to a degree that makes me weird, that my dad never had to think about. I've gone through all...
All right, so, like, here's the thing. Your parents are baby boomers, right? And the millennials are, giant. All right, let me explain how big these generations were, okay? Because, like, it might seem crazy to you. When I went to school, okay, there were so many fucking kids that, like, in my neighborhood of, I don't know, it's like 3,000 people in my borough that I lived in. There were 10 school buses, and this is like twice a day, 3-4 times a day, right? So 20 buses altogether, right? Because you had, the high school, then the elementary. And there were 10 buses each, and every bus was filled 3 people to a fucking seat. And then when you got to school, half of your classes were in trailers outside of the school because the school was too fucking small. That's how big these fucking classes were. So, like, literally, you were going to have friend groups because, like, yo, motherfuckers split off, right? And then, you had different people from different neighborhoods in your schools, right? And then you had different people of different, like, genetic ancestry. So, like, you had recent immigrants, like the Italians and the Puerto Ricans, right? And then you had the blacks, and then you had, like the Germans, and then you would have the Irish, right? And, like, they all kind of went, whew. And then if you went to, like, a tech school or whatever it was, you'd have, the kids who came from the city, then you have the kids from the country, and just, you know what I mean? So, like, you had a group, though, that you belonged to, right? You belonged to one group or the other, you know what I'm saying? You were part of something bigger, right? And, like, you know, I'll be honest, like, I still know a bunch of those fucking guys, right? And I'm 40. Now, not many of them, you know what I mean? Because, you know, a lot of people went to jail, a lot of people disappeared, went to Cali, came back, and I mean, and I've been up in the mountains for a while, and I've been raising my family, doing my own thing. But, like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it was because the generations were fucking massive. The baby boomer generations was gigantic, and they had no rules. And we were all like, there was no computers, there was no internet, there was no anything. It was just go the fuck outside. And so, like, you grew up outside, and you didn't have a lot of stuff to do. So you drank, you got high together, you spent time, you built fucking ramps for your bike, and, you know what I mean, you're out causing crime and just doing all types of ill shit. And, like, the police were, I mean, non-existent. You know what I mean? Because, like, they weren't going to lock up a kid until, like, I got, you know what I mean, around, and they locked all of us the fuck up, right? But even when they were locking us up, it was a point of pride as to, you know what I mean, you being locked up. You know what I mean? It was like, man, listen, like, fuck yeah, I did my time, motherfucker. Like, the fuck you do your time? You been out shafting, right? You know what I mean? Like, you know, and that was one of those things, right? Where, you know, again, you get back to these are things where, like, it would your criminality would separate you out, and you'd have a bunch of people who were like you. You know what I mean? And, like, you had the same experiences. You wore the same type of clothes. Like, you come out of, you know what I mean, juvie, and you'd have, you know, like, these, what we call Jesus sandals or Bob Barker sandals, right? And, like, you know, wear them outside with socks, right? And, like, everybody who wore them outside, you knew they went to the motherfucking, the juvie county joint, right? And these are things that everybody experienced together, right? And so, like, there was no internet. There was no gaming. There was no hiding inside all fucking day. You had to be outdoors, and your parents worked. And most of us, like, were products of, like, you know what I mean, broken homes. Like, there was no mom and dad. It was just mom. So mom was work. You come home by yourself. You were home by yourself for 2, 3, 4 hours a day. And, you know, some 6, 7 hours from me. Like, my mom had her own business, right? So, like, you know, she'd be out cleaning houses till 10 o'clock at night. You know, I get home from school like 3 or 4, whatever it was. I don't remember. I was high, right? And you just go outside, do whatever the fuck you wanted to do. Make your own food, do your own shit, hang out with your friends. You had a social circle. You had to. And the other parents knew, like, oh, yeah, their mom works. You know, I'm like, fuck them, we're going to help them out. You know what I mean? Take care of them. This was the way things got done back in the day. And that's why it seems absolutely foreign to y'all, because it is foreign to y'all. Let's keep going, though.
All these phases, self-improvement, reading all these books, devising a plan to stop touching my worm and looking at Hinte, you know, black pill, jawline, can't thou tilt. It's like, geez, man, how did I get here? A lot of these things were just supposed to happen. So this is the image of what this era is creating. Atomized, disconnected people with no identity or greater purpose than to consume. You don't grow, you don't mature, you're dependent on your parents, or you live in a tiny apartment where you don't know your neighbors. You come home from work, or you don't work at all, just to cope through fantasy, through escapism, drugs, and technology. You fuck your sex robot, and you take your medicine. You don't have a family, but you got a lot of products. Say whatever you want. Ignore me at your own peril. But this is no mistake. This was planned for you. And even though all...
See, I disagree. It wasn't planned. This wasn't planned. Right? It was just naturally evolving. So think about it this way. The Puritans, right, in the Northeast. This is fucking ridiculous that I'm bringing this. I'm going the whole way, but I'm going to go the whole way with it. They had rules that you had to work. You had to have a fucking family, right? And if you didn't have a family, as a single dude, you had to live with the family until you found a woman that had a family of your own. Right. And I mean, and so, like, it was this idea that, like, you had to participate. You had to be part of this. There was no escaping it. There was nothing else you could do. Right. And, like, this got spread to the entire fucking country because, like, there's nothing more important to this idea or this economy, this society we live in than that you're a productive consumer. You have to have a job. You have to have a place. You have to have transportation, right? Like, you have to have all these things. And if you don't, you're not acceptable, right? And that's just what this is, right? And, you know, in the end all be all of things, like this is what's, you know what I mean, been created out of that. It was just the evolution through time. You know what I mean? Like this is, there was no controls put on anything because like having a social standard or having a like real actual community or a culture is antithetical to like the basic tenets of, you know what I mean, liberalism and corporatism. You know what I mean? We just didn't, because everybody was making money. You know what I mean? And we had to beat the Soviets. You know what I mean? More production, more money, more fucking stock, you know. GDP number go up.
All of this is happening. I'm still young. You might be too. You still decide your own future. I could stay up in this basement, comfortable, too scared to change, with my gamer chair and computer with the RTX whatever the fuck, in the confines of the underground prison, watching seasons pass like days, a child in a man's body, just living to farm dopamine from games and the internet, the flesh merging with machine as the world burns. This is the life that so many young men like me live. But it ain't gonna happen to Daddy. I don't think so, pal. Daddy's gonna make a change. And you can too. Anything is possible with a good plan. It is harder now. These videos on my channels have been getting repetitive because I haven't really grown much as a person. I haven't been gaining much experience. But I think this is about to change. Stay tuned and you'll find out, but first I have to beat this case.
Yo, man, listen. You'll keep it at a buck, right? He might actually be telling the truth about the case thing. I don't know. You know what I mean? If he is, like, oh, good luck, homie. You know what I'm saying? But stop fucking with teenagers. That's bad. You know what I mean? Don't do this. You know what I mean? But yo, look, man. I'm Tom Peace from Pnoid News. Thank you, Cappy, for the money, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm up out of here. Peace.